the most, and I mean the most overhyped champion in Raid Shadow Legends history. Why? Why is the question? We're going to figure that out today. Let's get right into it. What up, team? It's your boy MurderInc here, back in with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're talking about the Demon Spawn new attack-based legendary from the test server Hephraak here. Now, this guy has been praised by so many people. I understand he's a new champion. He does well. There's a few things I want to talk about here. I'm going to approach this from the very end game as well as the 99%, so 1%, 99% here. And we're just going to talk about it here because I've never seen anything like this. I've actually only seen the reverse of this, where people said Rhodos, when he first came out in a fusion, as far as content creators go, they were like, his kit makes no sense, he's not going to be that good. And thankfully for them, that's what kind of shot my content creation very high and got me rolling. So we're going to talk about Hephraak here and all of the hype saying he's the new meta, he's the new king of the arena as far as nukers go, and of course that he's better than Trunda Guild Mallet, which is not going to be the case. So we have an extra turn on the A3, increased attack, increased crit rate. This is really good. There's some problems with this as far as extra turn goes. We will get into that in a moment. Now the A2 here, Hephraak Scorn, this is the key here, places an extra hit on targets with less than 50% HP after the first hit. Each hit will ignore 15% of the target's defense. Beautiful. Fantastic A2 ability here. We have a double hit with the condition if you can build him to deal enough damage where he just demolishes anybody. A1, nothing crazy, places an extra hit if this attack is critical, and we should all have 100% crit rate. Now we have an interesting passive here. Whenever an ally is killed, instantly activates Hephraak Scorn, which is that really cool A2 we just talked about. Will not put the skill on cooldown, so it can just pop off. Of course, the passive does have a 4-turn cooldown, so he can do a lot of damage. And I'm going to show you my gear. I'm using well above average gear. We have 7,700 attack, 185 speed, 73% crit rate because we're kind of banking on that A3 ability, and then 293 crit damage. As far as masteries go, we have your typical Helm Smasher mastery tree. So with all of this being said, this guy is going to be a monster with the gear I have him in pretty much any team. But what's the problem going to be with this champion? The problem is we are in a time and place, and a lot of people don't like this. I'm 50-50 on it, where everyone has stone skin gear, reaction gear. This is more for the top players in platinum. So what's the problem with this guy? His passive is too hard to manage, right? If you could guarantee a situation where you can proc this passive here, this would be really good. However, he's never going to compete with champions like Candrafin as far as a defense team goes, because that's kind of where this guy's looking really strong, or Leorius. He can't, because the fact of the matter is, look at his base stats here. We have 14,000 health, 1,000 defense, 99 speed, but 14,000 health. So in order for his passive to work here, an ally has to be killed. Now, I don't know what teams you guys are building, but when you have a champion with 14,500 base HP and 1,000 base defense, how is this guy not dying first? I just want to know. Yes, you can use Necrit, you can use something like Ursuga, but still, I've seen Cantrafin one-shot with an A1 through all of that. And we're talking about a Trunda now. So if you want to go and look at Trunda really quick, let's look at her base stats. HP, 22,800. Let's just think about that for them. 14,500 compared to 22,800. Now we do have a little bit lower on the defense, being 980, but 20 defense is not going to compare with the insane health difference between Hephraak and Trunda Guild Mallet. So Trunda is going to be the queen no matter what. If you're not sure, yes, Trunda is bugged, I guess we can call it. However, I'm not even going to call her bugged anymore because Plarium knows about her, and if they know about it and they haven't changed it, that means she's working as intended, regardless of how she's coded and what she's doing here. So the reason why Trunda is so strong is this A2 here is a single target ability. So even though it hits multiple enemies, it's going to ignore any type of AoE damage reduction, making this so strong. And this is a double AoE champion. Now, technically, you can consider Hephraak a double AoE champion, but there's a pretty harsh condition here, and it is rather random as far as when you can get it to kind of go off. Now, that's for the 1% of the players who probably didn't even need to hear that because they just know, right? When you're consistently in top 5, top 10, 25 in the Platinum Arena on a reset, you know these things. It's common sense. You saw this champion, you said, cool, but gonna be very hard to use regardless of how hard he hits. Which gets to my kind of main point here for the rest of the player base. Why this champion is really good but way overhyped is Trunda isn't the hardest AoE hitting champion in the game. She barely makes the top 5 list. I've made a video on this before of the top 5 hardest hitting AoE champions. Thea, the Tomb Angel, as we can see right here, with this ability right here, Hex Reaper is the hardest hitting champion in the game if she has Hex on all of her targets. After the rebalance where Hex does additional damage, she just goes up even higher, and the difference between Trunda and Thea the Tomb Angel is not small. It is very, very large as far as damage done goes. So if we're just gauging champions on how hard they can hit, if Hephraak hits harder than Trunda, it doesn't mean anything because you can take a Kale if you're in the 99% of players, give Kale the equivalent Savage gear or whatever kind of nuker gear you're using, and you're gonna one-shot your enemy team, of course bearing they don't have Stone Skin or something like Reaction gear, which is rather common now. So making the claim that he's this new Giga Chad AoE nuker, it's just not going to fly because for those of you who are curious, attack-based champions are weighted better. I don't know if better is the right word, but they're weighted higher than defense-based champions. So what does that mean? Good question. If you take a Trunda, or I mean, I guess Trunda is a little OP. If you take a damage-dealing champion, give it 5-star epic gear, the same amount of rolls and whatever beneficial stats, and take the same thing with a HP or defense-based support champion, give them the same 5-star gear, whatever stats they need, and you put them into a 1v1 battle against each other, the attack champion is always going to win. The other champion is not going to out-heal or out-survive that attack-based champion. You put them in the same scenario because attack-based champions, like I said, are favored in the matchup no matter what. Synergy is what makes it so you can survive as far as a support-based champion goes. Ursuga, her passive doesn't work for her. It's about protecting other players, which is why these teams work and why there's so much customization in the game of Raid Shadow Legends here. So with all of that being said, TLDR, I know I just talked a lot. Hephraak is good. He's not meta changing. Maybe down the line someone will figure something out with him. It's going to be very hard. Like I said, I've thought of a couple things and I guess I can kind of get into that right now and show you. It's going to work mostly for a defense here, and it looks like there's not a lot of really good teams out here. And I know I do have to talk about the A3, why the extra turn isn't as ideal. I guess, I mean, if I go against a Warlord, it's not going to be a great showcase because I'm just going to get locked out. And none of these really look like attacking teams here. Let's refresh, see if we can find some type of offensive team. I mean, I guess MTG Jedi has the closest for now. Yes, you can run Warlord on offense, but definitely not with Candrafin here. You know what? Let's just go against this team. We have our typical speed team here. Let's get rid of this setup. So we're going to use the new champion. We don't need Hegemon. That's going to be overkill. Don't need... maybe we'll use Sifi here. Okay, so we have Sifi. Let's go with Hephraak. And we don't even need a defense down. So all we need to do is make sure we go first in a team like this. I guess we could use a Warlord. Oh, no. So I did want to try something here. So let's include the reserve vault and let's just play this out like it's a go second team. Okay, so that's what I was trying to pull off here. So we're going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of this here, and then we are just going to throw in this guy. So this is what I was kind of aiming for as far as what you can do if you wanted to get as much value as possible out of a team like this. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. Now I'm giving us a guaranteed way of proccing his passive fairly quickly into the fight because the food champion here is just going to fall over. Hopefully, please fall over. All right, the tiger, surely, okay. The tiger kills him and then he gets stunned. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of another drawback here. And I think he's going to die next no matter what. Yeah, there's no shot he doesn't. All right, let's revive this guy. Hopefully he dies again. Oh, too bad the strip already happened. So we're going to use Hephraak Scorn. It's probably going to be a one-shot. Yeah, okay. So not the best showcase, unfortunately. Let me see if I can do this again and not run into the issue where my team's getting stunned here. Possibly Farbstoff. I think this will work. The only issue is Hephraak may die as well. Well, let's just play it out and see how it goes. We'll do 1x speed, and for some reason, I'm faster than them, minus Mithrala. Let's go ahead and put on ally protection, just to make sure he's surviving. There's no way this guy lives. Even with this, he shouldn't live if he has, okay, let's see. Okay, so he lived. Somehow we have a food champion that survived here. Now, this is where the issue goes. So let's talk about the A3. It's really good, but once you start getting extra turns here, now we just have 1 turn remaining on block debuff. So if I use this skill, Hephraak Scorn, we're in a rough spot, and I'll show you. Now we're susceptible to getting CC'd after all of this counterattacking happens, and if you wanted to use him in immunity gear, which he would be very good in immunity gear, you just really limit what you can do with this, so you'd have to end up not using that A3, building with 100% crit rate, then he won't be as easy to gear. So honestly, we probably just end this battle, and try not to be as cautious about the Cantrifin. Maybe it just didn't hit hard. I don't know the answer to that. So we're going to go ahead and just throw out some A1s here. We don't want to protect ourselves too much. Hopefully he doesn't die from this. Let's see. Okay, he didn't die. There's Hephraak Scorn, the first one proc, and this is exactly what I'm talking about here. If we didn't have this level 1 going on here, the team wouldn't be that good, and it's really hard to survive, like I said already, an A1 from Cantrifin. Trunda barely survives as it is. It's kind of like 50-50 with her, so there's no way this guy's going to survive any of those attacks going forward. So that's the basic rundown here. We got their health decently low. We'll never have that A3 on a defense team going into this if you do put some type of food champion here. Of course, you can do things like bring Kymar here to reset the cooldown so it gets refreshed and we keep spamming that over and over again, but let's just kind of put this on auto and see how this goes. He does still have his usage of that A2 ability, so I'm looking forward to see how this goes down for sure. Okay, it's just over. It's just over. Candy too strong, and even with Ursuga, my Ursuga's decently built, and Duchess with her passive on, it's just no match for a Cantrifin A3 here, and the damage from the A2 from Hephraak just isn't going to be enough without that A3 activation. So with that being said, we're gonna just end this, and that's the basic idea here. But once again, if you're the 99% and you want to use this guy as a nuker, power to you. He's going to be fantastic. He's going to be better than most other nukers, but like I already said in my main point for this video, you don't really have to worry too much about nukers when you're in the early game because it's very easy to one-shot an enemy team. And for the most part, players are kind of overkilling enemy teams with champions that aren't quite as good as Hephraak here. So as far as him being as hyped as he is, I'm not sure if the players or content creators that are hyping them up just aren't familiar with the arena as much. They're kind of not used to top arena, so they can take that knowledge and apply it to the rest of the arena base here. But he's a cool champion. He's going to be fun to use. I'm not sure how good he's going to be in a situation where we're using him outside of arena. Maybe someone else has figured out a really cool way to do that. I personally have not. So with that being said, that's going to conclude this video here. Just a really quick showcase and my thoughts and take on this, even though if you pulled this guy already, you're pretty damn lucky, right? Everyone knows the legendary rates in this game. He's going to be a really fun champion. If I pulled him, I would probably build him just for fun. But outside of that, he's definitely not replacing Trunda anytime soon. Because, and let's even think back, the only time I've ever said a champion can replace Trunda was Magnar. Magnar was someone that hit slightly less than Trunda if you didn't have an attack up on the champion, but what was the key difference between Magnar and Hephraak? I'm sure you guys have already figured this out here. He has 20,900 base HP. You stack HP to do more damage, so him as a nuker, he had like 90,000 or 100,000 health, and he was green affinity in a time where Cantrifon was and still is everywhere in the defensive meta. So this guy was just shredding things. Then Stone Skin happened, then Reaction became a lot more popular, and unfortunately Magnar kind of fell out of the loop here. But this is the only time where I said Trunda has some serious competitions in the right settings if you don't have attack up, since there is no HP up. Defense and attack up is rather hard back at the time to fit in during that meta. So we can clearly see the difference here between Magnar and Hephraak here. Hephraak, of course, is going to do more damage than Trunda and Magnar, but the survivability means too much in the current state of the arena. Alright guys, that's going to conclude this video. Give me your thoughts on Hephraak. Did you understand when you heard it the first time how it was way overblown out of proportion as far as how good he was? Do you still think I'm wrong and he is in fact much better than Trunda? I'm curious for your takes and why you feel that way. As always, if you enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.